This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. Repeat, this is not a test. Stay tuned for further instructions.
I pledge of allegiance to the Constitution of the United States of America and to the republic for which the flag stands, one nation under Almighty God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Yes, right now, for the moment, I've set aside my wonderful red skeleton for a moment because I do believe in what I just said. And as always, happy hump day, but this is just special for you. You know, you can't leave those who created the problem in charge of the solution. Again, you cannot leave those who created the problem in charge of the solution. We cannot. And folks, I've got to tell you, we've got breaking news, but we also have to have some light on the subject. Believe it or not, I woke up this morning and I thought to myself, why? On so many different levels. Why do I do this? Why are we in the state that we're in as far as this country goes? And I just need a thumbs up from my executive producer down there if he would like to join me. He's got some brand new information, folks.
So we just had a news break on our local radio news station here. The House approves impeachment inquiry into President Biden as Republicans rally behind the investigation. The 221 to 212 party line vote put the entire House Republican conference on record in support of impeachment process that can lead to the ultimate penalty for a president's punishment for what the Constitution describes as a quote-unquote high crimes and misdemeanor, which can lead to the removal of office and convicted in a Senate trial.
You know, I have been waiting to hear this. I mean, seriously, I have been waiting to hear this. You know, we've got, and I think I told you I was going to open up with, we've got our own little, and I look at the community I live in. It's a small community. So I think personally myself, Don, and tell me if I'm wrong, we've got to effectively start making changes within our own community in order to get people aware of what's going on. And in this case here, I think I told you I went to a HOA meeting, and the several that I've been going to of the past, I've been taping them, video recording them, and with purpose. It's to catch them not only in their lies, but to catch them in the rhetoric of the words that they use to protect themselves and not really answer to anyone, which is why one man in particular at the meeting said, this is precisely the reason why we don't trust you regarding a particular topic. And the topic was a jetty that they're building without any approval, any knowledge technically of the residents of this Home Oppressors Association. I want to show this. This is what I was greeted by and going into the room. No recording devices are allowed in the meeting. If you look up here, you'll see the names of the president. Well, actually, I should have been able to get a better shot, but that would be the president, Doug Winter, by order of Doug Winter, and established by, believe it or not, his director. And I'm going to disappear both of us for a moment because I want to add this to the screen, if that's okay with you.
Jason, I love you. And I don't mind. It's just that I can't believe there's rules for thee, but not for me. You know, even John came out and he was like, hey, you know, I'm all about the Second Amendment. And there you are, sitting in the back of the room, and you can't step forward to say, I've known Vinzent for 4 years. He's a good citizen. He's a veteran. And I think when they gave me that fine. So I'm just going to make sure I'm getting a suppression of my freedom of speech. We're not allowed to video record, correct?
That's correct.
Why is that, sir?
It's the order of this direction of the president here, Doug Winter.
Okay.
So there is no recording.
Okay. Because you do realize with the limited amount of people that are known here anyway to come, because they can't make it, they're out of state or whatever, they don't get to vote. So, with that being said, you have what, 148 people last month that voted? 148 out of 2,800 properties?
I'm not sure where you're getting at, but I need to get back to
Well, yeah, I know. It's very important.
You have a great day, okay?
Yeah. Thank you for suppressing my freedom of speech and my right to protect myself and the fellow citizens. I think this is wrong, guys. I think this is wrong. It's just wrong.
Vinzent, there's I can't say that I always agree with every decision that people make, but at some point, you know, we all have bosses and we work for folks, and you are certainly welcome to take this as far as you'd like to take it. I do believe, in my opinion, you should take those actions against the people that
Well, like that man he just spoke of.
correct. He's the one that said that.
Yes, it's suppression
So
of
Doug
freedom of
Winter's the
speech.
president
Yeah.
of the board, and they put up a sign today that said,
But they didn't
no
want the
video
truth.
recording.
Yeah, they didn't want
So
the
let
truth.
me tell you
Yeah.
a true story. Last month you were here, right? And I was here.
Mhm.
And I was asked to tell you to quit video recording. And I said, it's not in the rule book. There's no signs posted. I'm not doing that. And I didn't do it. Correct?
Correct.
I did not come up to you and ask you to stop or not do anything.
Sure.
And that was my answer to them. So I try to be fair to everybody.
Okay.
And so after I told them that, they've now posted a sign that says
Of course.
no video.
Of course.
So that's what they've done. You should definitely take your point of view and your stance up with those people that he just told you who did that.
Mhm.
And those are
Oh.
the folks. It's not me.
No, I'll
It's
take
not
it
John.
up. No, I'll take it up with the attorneys that I'm working with right
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
I have to.
And that's your right.
Yeah,
And
it
I
is
have
my
no
right.
issue
And you
with
know the
doing
thing,
that.
and again, you know, we've got 2,800 properties out here, and they have a lot of people that live around the country, and
Yeah.
there are people that I found out that don't even have the newspaper
Vincent,
delivered locally.
see my first statement.
Yeah.
I don't always agree with everything that's
Right.
done. And the
I
way it's
agree.
done.
I understand.
That's at every level of government in the United States. I don't agree with everything. But
Well, I'm glad we're having this
unfortunately-
conversation because I
Yeah.
like you guys. I've never had a
Vincent,
problem.
I've never had an issue
Yeah.
with you.
I know.
I've always been fair and upfront. You have my personal cell phone number. We've texted back and forth.
I wanted
Like,
to send you a
there's-
couple yesterday that were just outstanding. In fact, I
So
will
I've
do
got
that
no
today.
issue with you, but unfortunately, I am being paid by the homeowners association now. They have a sign posted, so I would just ask if you should go in and vote, but
Oh,
you
yeah.
will have to not.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put this. And
If you want to take a note, I mean, your word's good to us. You don't record, that's good to us.
You know, Dave, the funny
wow.
part, yeah, the funny part about this is I really do mean this too. They are our safety officers. Jason is our director. I have absolutely no problem with him. In fact, we were talking for a moment about the infraction that I went to where he couldn't make it. He had another engagement and I wasn't able to face my accuser. And so he did want me to address that. Yes, he had an engagement. He couldn't make it. I would have liked to have had a postponement to that so he could at least say, this is a reason why we don't allow the accuser, or this is our reason why we don't allow the accuser to talk to the people, the residents that are receiving the infraction. And I think if you remember, I even had where the board of directors, that's what these people are called for the HOA, the board of directors had actually started a rumor mill saying that I approached, intimidated, and harassed the well, obviously the director of safety and his second, John Oates, And that wasn't the case. In fact, they both approached me. And I even showed that on one of my programs a couple weeks ago, if you remember. They're nice men. They are just they're being paid to do their jobs. And he was correct. Last month, he did not tell me I had to shut it down, and basically allowed me to do that. So from here on out, I'm going to have to tell you, Don Corleone, I'm going to be carrying another video. It's going to be totally something so innocuous, something so non-suspicious, they won't even know what hit them. And I'll be recording every single one of them because I feel, and this is my opinion, I feel the residents that can't make it to those board meetings should have the opportunity to see the shenanigans that goes on at those board meetings.
Absolutely. And a couple things. One, I like that comment at the very end that you're welcome to take notes and your word is gold. We trust what you say, we trust what you hear and what you point out. I love that at the end of that video. When the safety officers are like, Vincent, I don't agree with everything, but I told them there's nothing posted, there's nothing they can do. Okay, there's one loophole that they didn't think of. They said absolutely no video recording devices. Who says you can't take a tape recorder in there?
That's very true as well.
You'll have audio. You're not violating their rules. Worst case scenario, the following month they have to make another sign. But and I find it very, very unnerving from my standpoint is because one, it's a public forum and public decorum. So if they're afraid of what is being said on video being used against them, then it should be done in a private decorum or a private meeting,
a closed session,
a closed session, and that's not what they're doing here. They're trying to limit the public and publication of what's being said to other people.
You made a good point there about recording audio, and that may be the next move for me. Although I've got, like I told you, a little bug up my sleeve because I think I'm going to hit it again because I want to stress the point that we need transparency with these people. They say, well, we don't understand. We're all volunteers. You should trust us. That's the reason why we don't trust you, because of all this stuff that you're doing and pulling behind our backs, not informing us of these, again, I call them shenanigans, but actually it's just lying, deceptive lies and stealing. They're stealing from the people,
Definitely. And I would gather an interest in this rule book as he discussed, because they can put up signs, but then again, if it ain't in the rule book as far as meetings and they have not added it yet, that's other grounds you got to stand on as well.
Wow, I never even considered that. That's Don, I feel like this. If I didn't have these discussions, there's so many things that do get past me, that get by me, and I'm going to tell you flat out, I'm not the smartest bulb in the box or the brightest bulb in the box, but even dimly lit, I can still shine some light. So I do appreciate you coming on with me talking about this. Now, we were going to have Chad. Chad brought up, because it's a private company, it's a private residence, it's a so on and so forth, that he felt as though they, in fact, do have that power to do that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes and no. Private property or not, and that could be where, me being in Iowa, him being in Florida, it could be the difference in you being from Missouri and how it's set. Like if they do a city hall council meeting, then everything's fair game. It's recorded, it's broadcasted, etc. And they have to, literally, they are bound to post their minutes. Otherwise, they're in violation of state law. So if they have to publish their minutes, what they discussed, and they have to post them publicly. I don't see what the huge issue is with audio or video recording or a combination of both. For the simple fact is, anything that they say in there is going to be posted in the minutes anyway. I think it's just someone trying to play who is the bigger bully and swing the biggest belt buckle to get a point up ahead of the other person. That's the way
Exactly.
that's honestly the way I look at it.
Exactly. In fact, that same person, Doug Winter, actually called me opening. Yeah, I know who you are. You're a joke. And I stood there in front of him and I said, well, I'm glad I could bring you so much happiness and laughter, but I don't think what I'm doing is a joke. I'm very much into wanting to have the people know what's going on. They can't make it to the meeting. Why not have the people be able to review it, watch it, pull out of it what they get, and formulate their questions to move on with that matter or subject matters of. So I think it's a very good thing. Now, you did mention a good point. You being from Iowa and Chad being from Florida, myself from Missouri. Our last attorney general basically said video recordings, you don't even have to let the other person know your video recording. You can video record anytime, anywhere, any place, because it's basically self-protection. Videos don't lie. They don't lie.
No, and when you have the audio in the background and a face to match it to, the problem they're worried about is what's being said being connected to a facial recognition and to a name when it comes voting time.
Yep. I'm gonna, like I said to you earlier, Don Corleone. Am I saying that right? I love saying it. The friend, the Godfather. I just love it. Seriously, I'm gonna keep at this.
Don Corleone. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep at this. I'm not gonna stop. I'm very tenacious. I plan things out, and I'm gonna make things happen because I believe it's my responsibility to do it. I have the time to do it. And again, this is just my little micro, what I call my little micro society. This is my little tiny society of which I live in. And so, folks, and we all have, and we all independently have our own societies in our houses. But the next thing I wanted to bring up here, and I'm so proud to do so, by the way, I've got to tell you, I really am proud to do this. Remove from audio. There we go. All together. Good. I got rid of that. Do you remember last week when I had my special guest on, Jimmy the Potts, editor of the Rag Mag, the Cameron Citizens Observer? Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah, I think I added a few quotations in there.
Well, it's about time. It seems and appears as though Jimmy the Putz, I'm just going to call him Putsy, Putz has finally had his just dues. Here goes a news clipping from just a couple days ago. On it says that, hang on. On it says that James Eric Potts, 39, on the 1st of December, he apparently had a warrant for his arrest. And he did, of course, post his bond. So he actually made it into his rag. I love it. But I've got to do this as well because, folks, I don't stop. And Dave, Don Corleone, I don't stop. Once I have you in my sights, I
want to know where that QR code is. I want to know what that QR code is to hit the arrest warrant.
That's so funny. You should ask that because we're going to share screen something right now, folks. If you want to call in, please feel free to do so. But as of the 6th of December, that would be the day of or I guess I should say mine, the day of my interview with the Putz. This is what we found, folks. You can't make this up. Oh, having a hard time finding it. There we go. CaseNet. Here we go. And now share. Is it on there by chance? I'm gonna get off here so everyone more charges brought to him. This is the moral authority of our society. I'm going to bring my that.
We couldn't hear all of it.
Okay. That's the
'Cause when
moral
you drop
authority.
out.
Okay. Well, we dropped out. We were muted. That there is the moral authority, the editor-in-chief of the Cameron Rag Mag. I call it the Rag Mag because he makes it a rag mag. Not the people that work there. They're wonderful people. I've spoken to a couple of them. They may not agree with my politics, nor I theirs, but they do a job for our Citizens Observer newspaper. And, you know, it's just sad that they've got that for leadership, that they've got this man who is driving, obviously illegal. There is no yet to tell on the case that there is no yet definition of what he's done. But you can rest assured, I'm going to throw a bone out there. Most likely no registration, no insurance, no driver's license. And that's just going from the other 32 offenses. So now he's got 4 more, making it 36, Dave.
Man, maybe he was worried we had our count off, so he wanted to make sure he was close.
I'm going to be turning the comments on over here. Missouri is a first party consent state. That's what the video. You can actually do it. And yes, he is the pillar of the community, was arrested because he had a warrant for his arrest. Heath and I are keeping very close tabs on this bozo, as well as several other people. Thank you, Heath, for joining in. If you have any questions, use the number.
I also hear, Tail, that the Cameron community owes a great deal with what Heath has gotten done over this last week.
Yes. And you know what we're going to do is this, Don Corleone. Number one, I credit Heath Gilbert as well as several other people who have worked hand in hand with him. I think I can include myself to a degree, naturally. But what he has done for the community is, and I'm going to use his words, he's outstanding. What he's done is outstanding. And all of this is going to come to light at this school board meeting, hopefully coming up. We can't discuss it in for too much further detail, but a big shout out for battling and waging war and sticking with these battles. And in the long run, if everything appears as though appears as it is, in the long run, I think there's going to be a great debt of gratitude from the community for him. Again, I can't even begin to tell you, Don. I can't. He's just a remarkable individual. He really is.
He really is. A little bit that I've even talked to him, he seems like a phenomenal individual, and my hat's off to him for doing what he's doing. I'm going to step back and produce. Obviously, you can see the other executives here getting riled up. So,
right on.
I'll still be down in the background. Right
on. You know, I again, you know, I woke up to the question why. Why are we in this mess that we're in? We just had that breaking news that the Senate has now is going to go full blown against the president in through an impeachment inquiry. This is actually I don't know. I've got mixed feelings on it, because if they do impeach him, let's just say they do impeach him, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to make Kamala Harris our next president. She gets to step into those shoes. And that would be a very scary situation, in my opinion. And again, that's just my opinion. But, you know, we need to look at why we are here today. Why are we the laughing stock of the globe? I couldn't have said any better when Don Corleone said that to me. The laughing stock of the globe. And it is. You know, he's saying it right here. It's a dog and pony show, and they're doing it willfully. They are doing it willfully. But we are being looked at by the world. We're giving money, for instance, to Iran. Iran has used that money to basically weaponize Hamas much strongly. I have my high school sweetheart and I have been going round and round and round on this one. She doesn't like the phrase that the Israelis are the chosen people, and they are the chosen people by their words in the Bible. No doubt, I do agree with that. And if anyone has read the Bible or understands the split of the Muslim faith and of the Christian faith, when Abraham and Sarah, who was his wife, was barren, she gave him one of her maidens to have a child with, to carry on the name. And that child's name was Ishmael. I'm sorry, I always say Ishmael. It was Ishmael. And then shortly thereafter, through the grace of God, Sarah was given a child, Isaac. A woman that was not able to have children, suddenly brought Isaac into the world. And so Abraham and Sarah took the maiden and cast her out into the desert. Henceforth, the Muslim/Palestinians came to being. In short, I'm just giving you a short summary of this. And when you look at what happened on October the 7th, and it's very, very, very sad. What happened October 7th was a surprise sneak attack onto Israel. And really, our special, I want to say our special ops, National Security Agency, CIA, and even with even with Israel, they actually did know supposedly that this was actually in the makings. So technically, this wasn't really a surprise. But what they're doing is completely wrong, though what the Hamas is doing. And Israel's been very kind in saying, folks, get out. We're going to be bombing. Right now, actually, I just heard as of today, they're flooding the tunnels with seawater to, of course, to trap these terrorists and kill them off. And what's really, really sad is our country, we have a faction of our country that's pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine, and they're they're basically pro-genocide, destroying every single person of the Jewish faith. That's what the Hamas wants to do. They want to wipe out a complete race, a complete religious race of people. And this is not right. My high school sweetheart go round and round on this. She doesn't like the fact that they call themselves the chosen people. And she does think that they are as guilty as Hamas is in killing children, so on and so forth. There's no doubt war is hell. We've spoken of this before. And, I'm not going to say I'm an authority on foreign relations or on foreign policies regarding war, but we do know that we've listened to the people here in the U.S., the gays for Hamas, the gays for Palestine. I got to tell you, the LGBTQ people, they're wrong. If they were actually in Iran or in the Saudi nations and walking around saying that they are proud to be living a life with under the LGBTQ umbrella, they would be executed. They would be executed. They don't like and appreciate any form of homosexuality or this trans stuff. None of it. They don't eat from that pot of soup. So we've got the people here in America, some that are standing up for Hamas, that are saying it's okay to wipe out a genocide, to wipe out a whole nation of people. And yet on the flip side of the coin, when you look at those that are protesting peacefully, notice the word I'm using, they are protesting, or should I say they are assembling together peacefully, saying they want peace, they want no more war. And that, of course, is the Israel people, the supporters of the Jewish people. And we've got to realize one is saying, let's have peace. Why can't we try to figure out a way of living together? And the other group is saying, kill them all. There's a complete unbalance here. And I'm a Libra. I can usually find that balance, but there's a complete unbalance. And so what are we supposed to do? I say we should lean more towards the side that does want peace, that wants to rectify and maybe give the Palestinian nation, the Palestinian people, another avenue or another place to go. Because when you've got some of our own politicians that are saying from the river to the sea, you know, that's just wrong. That would be Talish, by the way. That woman should be out of office. And then we could go one step further. Why is this happening? This whole program is about the reasons why. Why is it that we've got these young college students that are going after Jewish faith people? Why are we, let's see what we've got going on here. I don't want to see the violence. However, this region has been fighting for 4,000 years, and we need to take care of our vets, our home issues, and stop making policy we cannot enforce, fund, or afford to ascend our soldiers to. Oh, I'm going to so touch on that in just a moment. But let me get back to this just for a moment more. And you're right about that, by the way. We need to take care of our own nation, our own country. I've always said this about the fractured foundation of our families. We need to take care of the foundation that's fractured, crumbling earthquake-wise below us here in the United States. But again, why is it that these college students are saying it's death to all Jews? And they want the genocide of all Jews. Why? Because we had not one, not two, but three. We had three presidents of higher educational institutes, Harvard being one of them. I think Yale was the other, and I can't remember the third one. I am so sorry. But all I can say is one already was fired. This black woman, her name is Gay, I believe. She's being kept. They have lost billions of dollars right now, over $1 billion to Harvard from people who donate money to that college. People all and this has all happened because collectively the three of them said it's the context of the word, but they're free to say all that stuff. And they just couldn't come out and simply say, are you against genocide? Yes or no? Are you against wiping out all of the Jewish people? Yes or no? Not one of them could say, yes, they are against it, and it goes against the policies of the colleges of which they are presidents over. This is the leadership, folks, that we have not in only these three colleges, but in many dozens and dozens and dozens, probably a couple hundred colleges nationwide that have this mindset. And now they want to hide behind the phrase, it's all in the context of. And yet, if you reflect a year ago, just 6 months ago, when you've got Republicans, when you've got conservatives, when you've got the right, the what I call the right side of politics, wanting to speak at these college campuses, they are told they cannot. They are suppressed. They are booted out. They are mobbed on. They're assaulted. And we allow this to happen. This is our own doing. And whose own doing am I pointing the finger at? I'm pointing the finger at the taxpayers, the parents who send their kids to these schools, these students that are falling prey to this indoctrination of. And it's not only happening at the higher vessels of institution of education, it's happening at our lowest, our grade school levels, our high school levels, even right down to and including the kindergarten levels. We have to stop the insanity. And the only way we can stop the insanity, and this is just my personal opinion, if you can take care of your own community, like I'm trying to do with this Lake Viking Association, Home Oppressors Association, ran by this body of directors, or should I say, this board of dummies. I really think we can take back our country, but we're going to have to do it one community at a time. We're going to have faith in ourselves. We're going to have to look at these up and coming elections. And here in Cameron, for instance, we've got a school board meeting, school board members that are going to be voted on again. We've got some great people that are going to run, one of which is Dan Landy. Apparently, the First Amendment only applies if you say the right, left thing. You know, you are so correct. You're correct. If it's so funny that you use that phrase, the right, left thing. That's what the Democrats are. They're trying to say what they're saying is okay. It just depends on the context of what the genocide is, the violence is. Well, it's just the word itself. Do you or do you not agree with genocide of the Jewish faith-based people? And they couldn't say yes. They hid behind the First Amendment for themselves, but not for, again, those conservatives, those Republicans, those that want to correct this course that we're on. I listened to Donald Trump the other night, and he said, if I were a dictator for just one day, of course, they always want to just run away with him. The Trump train just gets derailed, or they attempt to derail it. But he said, if I was just dictator for one day, he said, these two things would happen on that one day. The border would be closed, and the pipeline would be open. Folks, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. Our economy, our inflation, the whole 9 yards. It's ruined because of this Democratic Party. They want to tell you it's the Republican capitalists. They want to tell you it's the right wing of the right wing extremists. They want to tell you that all of this that's going on today was going on technically and all started by Trump. But no, folks, we're not stupid. If Biden, and by the way, this comment of mine that I'm about ready to say, I love it. Facebook will probably take it down, and I don't give a rat's tail. But the fact of the matter is this. In days of old, when you were found guilty of treason, some were exiled. Some were executed. They hung from a tree for treason. And I do believe in my heart, and I'm not creating any violence here. I'm not inciting any violence. I'm just saying if the crime fits the penalty, then utilize the penalty for that crime. And treason against the United States, if you're a military soldier, sailor, airman, they can, if they really truly wanted to, they could put you in front of a firing squad. At least that's the last that's what I've heard to be truthful the last time. If you did something that was treasonous, you could be placed in front of the firing squad. Well, guess what, Joe Biden? What they've done to you for your wife first, I'm sorry, it's elderly abuse. You never should have been allowed in the White House. Flat out. You stole the election. Your party stole it. And I don't care what anyone says. They can try to censor me all they want. But we know, and I know, and I've got the receipts. I know that this election was stolen. But what has done since they've taken over this office is completely a travesty to the United States of America. We have now closer to 10 million people, and that would include closer to 2 million gotaways that have crossed our southern border. I was up in Pennsylvania about 2 years ago, and I spoke to a gentleman who I thought, very nicely dressed. Of course, you can't always judge a book by its cover. Very nicely dressed. And I asked him what he felt about the insurgents invading, the illegal aliens coming across the border. And would you believe that man said, don't know anything about it? And why doesn't he? Why? Again, I woke up for the past several days not even wanting to, and one part of me didn't even want to do a program. But the word was why? Why? Why are we here? We're here right now. They've given $7.5 billion for all of these charging stations, and not one has been built across America that is successfully operating. Where are those funds going? Who's doing what with that money? And we now have all these electric cars, a couple of them anyway, and they're not lasting long. Right now, their life expectancies are really beginning to show, and it's polluting our land and soil. No one wants electric cars. They don't drive long distance. They're way ungodly expensive. And the casualties of pulling those minerals out of South Africa is at the expense of small children, of men and women, both young, middle-aged, and elderly, that are dealing with the cobalt and other mineral agents, materials that are coming out of the ground. And yet we persist, or should I say they persist, in saying, get rid of fossil fuels. And by the way, we're going to stuff these electric vehicles down your throat. I've got to tell you, it's not worth it. What do we have here? He isn't worth the 83 cents worth of lead. Yeah, guess what? That's so funny. Of course, we could spend, I believe it's now 66 cents for a stamp. So maybe you could just send him a Christmas card saying, Happy New Year, get out of office. That's what I would like to see happen anyway. Tesla recalled all 2 million autopilot cars today, not to use the autopilot whatsoever, the programming. And why is that? Well, I've seen some videos, folks, and those autopilot cars are not good. I mean, when you see the cop approaching and the car is going to still try to operate to get to its destination, they're not listening to the law enforcement agent that's saying, stop, put your car in park, and shut it down. They're not doing it. I've seen some crashes occur, and the people are like in these Ubers, by the way, and that was an Uber situation too that I just spoke of. But they're in these Uber situations with these autopilot cars, and they're getting into accidents. They're running into everything from fire hydrants, automobiles, to fire trucks, ambulances. So I'm glad to hear that. I do hope that that's truthful information. I don't like to put up, untruthful information, but I'll say one thing. Don Corleone, he's our one of our executive producers. He really does do his research. And if they have recalled 2 million of these pilot cars today and not to use this program whatsoever, I believe that's probably a start. A step and start in the right direction. I don't want to see Elon Musk go down. I'm a big fan of the man that says, go yourself. I really am. I love to say that word, by the way, or that phrase. You know, you just look at someone and they say, hey, I'll vote for anyone but Trump. And, anyone's got to be better than Trump. And all I got to say to him is go yourself. And we all know what I'm saying. I just don't have the ability to let it roll off my lips all the time. I listened to an elderly couple in mid-50s into their early 60s. Elderly, that's where I'm at, by the way. Yep, that's where I'm at. And this woman actually said she will vote for everyone and anyone under the sun, but never Trump. To be fair, there are a ton of idiot human drivers, too. Oh, bro, the hater, the hate it. I love it. You're absolutely right. There are. In fact, last week I spoke, I brought this up, but, we're so much looking into working with AI, and what we really should try and deal with is our natural stupidity around us first. Get a grip on this. Try to figure out where we can put some common sense into play and see if we can make things, a little bit more decisions that are more, again, common sense related. And And that, of course, comes from, and I've got to put this banner up. I've been wanting to do this for so long. I just love this one, but serious. This is the Common Sense Department. Yes, I've stolen this from Fox News. I can't help it. I stole that. But this is the Common Sense Department right here. You know, I really feel as though we need to start getting more concerned. I was in a bar the other evening having a steak dinner, got done with the steak dinner, and I was talking to this guy who also owns property at this Lake Viking Association. And he said, I don't care to get involved in any of that stuff. All I care about is whether or not I can go on my property and drink all the beer I want. You know what, dude? It's people like you that are so selfish. And by the way, he even called me a Biden guy. Called me a Biden guy, this idiot. If he only knew. Them are fighting words. Did I get down into it? Nah. And I can tell you why. Number one, when you fight a drunk, chances are you're going to have a very difficult time with that drunk, unless it's out of necessity. So you pick and choose your battles. In this case, I'm older. I don't need that kind of aggravation. But this guy actually called me Biden because I told him, what are you going to do when the HOA doesn't allow you to drink beer on your property? Because that's the next thing they're going to do. So, of course, he's a big mouth and yells down the bar. This guy just said if he was in charge of the HOA that he wouldn't allow beer on property. Probably wouldn't let guns either. And then he just went off the rails. He wasn't listening to me. For a moment, I thought, oh, boy, this is going to get ugly quick. But I slipped out. It wasn't worth it. Why? Because that man is so selfish. He's so self-centered. He's so narcissistic. He could care less about anyone else but himself. So, again, past couple of days, waking up with the one word first on my mind before anything. It's not what the weather is. It's not why. Why are we here? We're here because when you get a person like that, who's a neighbor with another person like that, and they all have that same mindset of me, and the world and my bubble are the only thing that exists. They don't think about their neighbor. They don't think about that person down the block or around the corner. All it takes for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing, and that applies to every issue. Albert Einstein actually said that. I'm liking you. I'm not sure about Roe the hated, but R.O. the hated. I'm trying to, I got to tell you, brother or sister, I like what you're saying here because you're absolutely correct. The world is an evil place, not because of the evil people, but because of the good people that do nothing about it. But the thing is, how many good people are there? Are they decreasing in numbers? Is it that we no longer really care about our society? Hey, Ruth, how's it going? Glad to see you here, dear. Is it that we don't care about our world? You know, we've got so many things going on. We've got an election time coming up in 2024 November. I have already touted and said, personally myself, I'm single. I do have a son I just found out about, but just the same, no wife, no girlfriend at the moment. I'm focused on our state, the state of Missouri. We have a governor here, and this governor, I've got to tell you, this governor is absolutely a horrible, horrible governor. He doesn't reach out, nor does his staff, to people, at least not me, and I reached out for at least a dozen times in the past 2 years. I'm sure well over a dozen times, and I've not had one reply back except a computer-generated email that says, thank you for emailing us. One of our staff members will be contacting you shortly. Not one time has that happened. When I am governor, notice what I just said, when I am governor, hopefully for the Constitution Party, I'm getting vetted right now. When I am governor, I assure you, every month I will be talking to you on this network, You'll be calling that number or maybe a new number, and you'll be able to talk to me direct. Let me know what your issues and problems are. And I'm going to tell you what my number one topic is. They asked me for 5 concerns. What are my 5 topics? My number one is law enforcement. I know I'm not crazy about cops either. In fact, right now I live in Daviess County. Daviess County is probably one of the most corrupt counties of law enforcement I have yet to encounter. I've heard about people like this. But when you're living the dream, or in this case, the nightmare, you got to call it balls and strikes. Daviess County Sheriff Larry Adams is corrupt. He's dirty. He's not a good man. They have had a report that I filed on November 17th with Cameron PD. It was approved by the supervisor on the 19th of November, and then it was transferred to Daviess County. And today's date is want to make sure, the 13th. And it's been, 13 days plus another 8, 9? So they've had that for 24 days. And they have not contacted me yet about this report, which is a doxing report by an attorney that put out on the internet my address, phone number, date of birth, social security number, as well as my driver's license number, folks. I mean, I'm thought that I was always reporting the news. I've actually become part of the news. And there's going to be hell to pay. There's going to be hell to pay in the long run. I assure you that. Because I just took a snapshot of something earlier tonight, right before the show, and I couldn't help but take this picture. And I'm just going to say this to you, Larry Adams, Daviess County. Watch out for people who come back from everything that was meant to destroy them. I'm not saying this. I'm reading this from a post. These are God's people, and they are not to be messed with. I believe in God. Do I think I'm one of God's people? Yes. Am I saying that this is actually me that thought this up? Nope. Again, this was something that came on a post an hour before the program. Had to take a snapshot because I'll tell you what, you keep messing with Donald Trump and your witch hunt. You keep messing, or in this case, I'm in the mess of a witch hunt myself. Oh, it's going to come to an end. March 1st, it will come to an end. And I'm very, very confident that God will have this. But like I said, we are not to be messed with. We are not to be put down. You are never going to destroy good people. And I personally am going to see to it that my good name is restored, one way, shape, form, or another. But as governor, law enforcement agents, everyone gets body cameras, everyone gets nice cars, everyone gets video cameras in their car. We have to have video cameras in our cars. We have to have them on the law enforcement agents. It's to keep them walking the wire, the tightrope, but more importantly, to protect them in the event that, God forbid, they have to protect themselves in a life and death situation, what's called self-defense. Because, believe it or not, there are some people that have it out for the cops. In fact, we had, of all places, I can't believe this, I think our population is like 12,000 in Cameron. We actually had a lady the other day. Let me rephrase that. I believe it's a lady, but I'll rephrase that. We had an individual, a person, who drove their car and rear-ended a cop intentionally. Population 12,000, maybe 15,000. And we've got a nutcase like that on our streets. Oh, besides our editor, the Putz of the Rag Mag, Cameron Citizens Observer, we've got these idiots that don't belong behind the wheel of a car. And this woman purposely, or this man purposely, drove into a police officer's car. Again, I'm no big fan of cops, but that's my number one priority. Because if you don't have law and order in our society, you're going to have nothing but criminals running it. All I've got to do is reference one title, Batman. If you haven't read a comic book, read a book, seen a movie, seen a video, what have you, about Batman, I don't know what cave you've been in. I don't know what rock you're under. I don't know what toadstool, a mushroom, by the way. I don't know what toadstool you're under. But we've seen what happened in all these different movies and sequels to that of Batman. We've seen what happens to the cities when it's taken over by the criminals. So that's my number one. Number two, oath of office. We have a lot of leaders in there that are just getting fatter wallets, getting more money, and they're multimillionaires after just 4 years in office. And they're not doing the people right. They're not serving and protecting the people. They're not working hard to change and work on state legislative laws. They're not trying to even get involved, as they put it. We don't want to get involved in books and stuff of that nature. This is a shout out to District, I believe it's District 6, Dean Van Schuik, state representative. You're pitiful. And by the way, I'm going to throw Senate Rusty Black under the bus as well, of Missouri, District 6 area. You too are a pitiful senator. Both of you should just step down and let some man or let some woman walk up to the plate, at least pass off the baseball bat, and give them a chance to swing at the ball. That's all I'm asking for. Now, my third thing, education. It's the foundation of our country. You've got to be able to read and write cursive. You must. Because, see, when Obama in 2010 took cursive out of our educational institutions all the way from K through 12 into universities, what he did was he made it that he wanted to make Americans stupid and dumb. They wouldn't be able to read the Constitution, a most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful document. A throwback, by the way, a throwback. Let me rephrase that. It was improved upon by just the Magna Carta and then Martin Luther. I mean, if it had not been for those two special parts of our history way back when, our Constitution never would have been written as eloquently as it was. It is the end-all, be-all right now. It is the best that they have to offer. But we cannot allow our children not to be able to read cursive, to not be able to understand, read, and comprehend the Constitution as it is written and displayed in the Smithsonian, in the Capitol, wherever it may be at, and they do bounce it around, I'm sure. I would like to see, for one time and one time only, I would like to see someone that's about 8th grade level go in there and start reading it. That would be wonderful to see that child do that. Just a 12, 14-year-old kid. Read the Constitution. But our education is most important because in our education, we have a thing called history. History lessons. Yes, it's all about reading, writing, and arithmetic. But we've got science, we've got history, we've got a plethora of other topics. But our history and the history of the world, we should be learning from. Right now, I'm going to go back up here, by the way, Don. You wrote down something earlier, by the way, that I want to bring in here. I don't want to see the violence. However, the region has been fighting for over 4,000 years. He's speaking, I believe, of the Middle East right now. Going back to it. We need to take care of our own veterans, our home issues, and stop making policies we cannot enforce, fund, or afford to send soldiers to. I believe he was talking strictly. In fact, if he's wanting to come on, just pop on in. Don Corleone. If you want to come in, come on in, brother. Because you and I were talking about this earlier, about the Ukraine, the open borders, how they want to stop Russia from invading Ukraine. And yet we've got what's going on in our country that's devastating with the fentanyl. And you see our soldiers right now, I got to say, decrease in numbers. We don't have the army or the military force that we used to have. And you mentioned the veterans. Don, take this over a little bit. I'm getting a little flustered.
Yeah, the way I see things, okay, when we have veterans going hungry, begging in a cardboard box, people running away from them like they're there's something wrong with them just because they are where they are. Well, they stood up and fought when no one else would. They took and paid the ultimate sacrifice. We don't know what circumstances they had to endure, and they probably won't talk about it. We, and Vince, you know, I'm a Christian. We're called to be good Christians, and to be that way towards our veterans is not Christian. And we need to stop printing money to fund other people's wars across seas. We need to stop spreading ourselves so thin, sticking our nose where it don't belong, and trying to be global police. With the stimulus packages that rolled out and things like that, my great grandchildren probably will never ever see us out of debt. They can keep printing money all they want. As long as there's no gold in Fort Knox to back up that printing press, all it does is devalue the dollar. And what cost you $20 30 years ago, when I'm 39 years old, is going to cost you $60 now.
Yep.
It's simple mathematics. Dropping a 20 back in the 90s was like dropping $100 now.
Yep.
It's
You mentioned
absolutely ridiculous.
And you're absolutely correct. I can't agree with you more. You mentioned the veterans in particular. We have so many veterans that are on the street, so on and so forth. And I was in the United States Navy. Proud to say that, by the way. No, not when we could get with all the jokes. I was a seaman and all that stuff. But seriously speaking, the men and women who served, those of us that are alive, some who came back with body parts missing, and then the ones that never came back, and the families that have buried their young men and women. I personally think that those people, the veterans, really do need to have an admiration from the general public instead of being spit on. Instead of being told, oh, you were a baby killer. I'm thinking of the Vietnam era and what they said of those soldiers back then. Oh, you massacred villages of innocent people. No, it's called war is hell, and you did what you were told. Maybe those things did happen. Again, I don't know about you, Dave. I'm sorry, Dave. Don.
That's okay.
I've met many people that were in World War II throughout my lifetime. A lot of old whacks, that be the women, and the military soldiers. And Korean War even. It wasn't until Vietnam, but up until Vietnam, those veterans never, ever, 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 rarely, if ever, spoke. For instance, the storming of Normandy Beach. They kept those horrific memories to themselves.
Yes, they did.
Never
Grandpa, my mom's dad was in World War II, and he absolutely refused to talk about it.
That's how the patriots that served in the military were taught to deal with it. You just set it aside.
And what I'd honestly like to see is what we're giving everybody that's crossing the border illegally or immigrating here legally. What I want to see, I want all those benefits for our vets. I want free health care. I want free mental health, 24/7, 365. Don't put them on hold. I want them to have a house. I want them to have a brand new car. I want them to have set up employment security when they come home. They may be across seas for 3 years and had to leave a family and probably kids that they've never even met other than a video screen and a job they were building a life for, and now that job is gone. I want them to be able to walk into any hospital, clinic, anything like that, and not be shown the door and told, go to the VA. That is how you take care of veterans. Make sure they got food in their belly, great mental health, stable foundation, set them up for success. Don't send them over, take their life away, tear at their shreds of their humanity, and then bring them home, kick them in. I'm sorry, Vince, you know how I am. Kick them in the ass out the door and say, good luck.
Yep. Yep. And really, right now, Dave, and I'm gonna cross these two topics because I think you just made another light bulb or another part of me start thinking a different direction as well. Our educational system is so much about the feelings of everyone around us, correct? They're teaching us social emotional learning crap. And yet at the same time, they seem to be numb to the patriots and to the future patriots. Because I know this is going to turn around. Young men and women are going to turn around and say, you know what? I do want to serve. There's a coalition. I know in my heart, I feel there is a coalition of them saying, God, I want to serve my country. And so they are going to come around. But when you've got all this, oh, we've got to be sensitive about this and sensitive about that. We got to watch what we say here, using the right pronoun or whatever goofiness there is. I'm just going to tell you, Dave, a lot of the youth of our America right now, they feel entitled. They don't have any ambition. They don't have any drive. They almost feel hopelessness. Almost. Which is very sad. When you really, to me, my opinion, when you lose hope, you've lost your will to live. I used to say,
absolutely.
But I think that. I really do.
And there was a video going around on Facebook and one going around on TikTok for the longest time, and there was a state senator or something like that, and they're like, where's so and so from the New York Times? Come here, I want to show you something. And she's sitting there milking a cow. She's like, I want you to go somewhere in the middle of the heartland, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, Wisconsin, Illinois, and talk to one of these farmers about gender misidentification, because I'm going to tell you right now, this is the right gender. I'm sitting here milking a female cow. Go and try that on a bull and see how it works.
Right. That was, I believe, Carrie Lake.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yep. This is again, it's common sense. It's common sense that I think that we're lacking in leadership. I was speaking earlier about how I feel about my 3 topics right there. I didn't get the other 2 yet, but I'm going to hope to by the end of the program. But it's our education. And when we've got these presidents, again, that say chance of genocide is not hate speech, it's okay to say, is wrong. It's just wrong.
Yep,
I don't know how can anyone justify, like you said earlier in your comment, 4,000 years that they've been battling, and they have many, many thousands of years. Again, to be fair, some of us just joined because ladies love scary dudes in uniform.
I had to cackle at that too.
I like
and
this.
To give you a prime, you know how much I loathe our governor, Kim Reynolds. Absolutely loathe her. Can't stand her. Well, in the state capitol in Iowa, in the rotunda, there's the Iowa Satanic Church. Well, they did a manger type scene thing, something like that, and they were ordered to people were asking them to take it down, and then they turned around and she says, no, we have to give people the right to express themselves and things like that. It's no different than a manger scene. And then they turned around and attacked her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've heard about the there's been a manger scene in particular where I don't get it, but why are people stealing the baby Jesus? It's like, why are they stealing the manger of the baby Jesus? It's obscene.
It is obscene. Like, what are they getting from making a political statement over the religious side of it and then asking the governor to make a stand on it? And then when she does and she references the manger scene, turn around and tell her that's disrespectful to everybody else in every other religion.
Well, it's funny you say that because different cities, they're bringing down everything from the Christmas decorations, the Christmas trees. They're bringing down the menorahs left and right, and they're just making it where the holidays are not as joyous as they once were. And we've got to realize we've got to have holidays to make us happy. We celebrate the life of some people, i.e., example, Martin Luther King. His house, his childbirth house, where he was born in, raised in, a black woman took gasoline all over that house. This is only like within the past week. A black woman took gasoline, a 5-gallon pail of gasoline, and threw it all over the house, hoping to start a fire and burn it to the ground. And yet, when you listen to MSNBC, CNN, so on and so forth, they say it was a white supremacist who did that. No, that was a black female. I saw what she did. I saw what the people did. Two officers. I think they were either off duty or they are retired. One of them might have been retired. But anyway, 2 officers not in uniform, not on duty, basically walking their dogs around the neighborhood, took this woman down and waited for the authorities to come. But they call this black woman a white supremacist. It's crazy. It's just ludicrous for me to look at a black woman with 5 gallons of gas, pouring it on the house of it, being videotaped doing it, and for me to say, yep, that's a white supremacist. That's a person that's doing evil and causing disruption within our community. A white supremacist doing this. Had that woman torched that house, gotten away with it, and actually set that fire, I really don't know. I don't know how they would twist that story, but they have a propensity for which to do so. If you watched my show last week, I talked about the 4th branch of government. There's 5 branches, not 3. There's 5, but the 4th branch of government is propaganda, media. Media has helped destroy this country. And that's why here on the Common Denominator Network, we've got other programs besides myself here on Wednesday night. We've got other programs that we join at the hip with. We've got programs that we push on our page. A lot of other programs that are out there for, I want people to watch the Hodge twins or the FLR family. I want them to experience other news people that are shocked at what's happening now, because we need to have truthful news. We need to have people that are standing up. We can't continue being jellyfish. We have to have a backbone. We have to have a voice. We have to say what's on our minds. Yep, earlier I said Biden should be hung for treason. I typed that on an MSNBC, I think it was MSNBC, Microsoft, it might have been Microsoft, and it goes against our community standards. You can't do that. I wrote something similar to that also on the on Facebook. It goes against community standards. We're going to be blocking you. Well, guess what, folks? Those are the punishments for that particular crime. And we have to start putting the fear of God, the fear of their life in the balance. This way here, we won't have so many pedophiles. These men that want to dress up like women, dancing in front of kids, are pedophiles. That's all they are. They're sexually exploiting. They're some of the worst. And yet there are parents that are okay with this. There are parents out there that say, yep, I'm going to let my boy 8 years old read a book about homosexuality. If he's curious, there's a book about how he can perform the acts. I'll do that in your own home. but don't do it in a public library at all. Go to your public library in the public in your town and get those books, but don't do it in the public high school, public grade school, public elementary school. Don't have those books in those schools. It's that simple. You know, we could keep beating a dead horse into the ground, but this is the only way to get the message out there. And you've got to please like and share this. You know, we've got a reason. I've got a reason why I'm here. Again, I keep waking up the past several days, 3-4 days in a row. Why? But it's not only why am I doing this, it's why are we where we're at. It's again because if you get to the very individual person, that person really only cares, not everyone, but too many only care about themselves. And they're not willing to take that step forward. Or they're afraid. They're afraid of losing their job. They're afraid of what their coworkers are going to think. They're afraid about what their neighbors are going to think. And understandable. I guess I can continue hanging my Trump flag because I have no neighbors except for raccoons and deer and possums and so on and so forth. But I'm going to continue hanging my flag of Trump. If I was downtown Kansas City, I would be doing the same. Who knows? Maybe I'd end up having Molotov cocktails flying through my window because all those Trump haters. It's better to live your life honestly and fully than it is to be lying to yourself. It's okay to say, and I've got friends that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s that are gay, bisexual, what have you. It's okay. It's not that I'm saying I agree with it. In other words, I don't agree with the sin, but I can still love them as people because they're good people. Just because their sexual preference is different from mine doesn't make me any better nor them. Except that I do believe there's this book called the Bible, Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. The Bible, let me repeat that. Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. You know, it's okay. You know what you should, what you shouldn't do. But only a man and a woman together can procreate, reproduce, can bring a child into the world. It takes a man and a woman. It's not two men and it's not two women. That's biology, and we know this. So getting off that topic and getting back to what I'm saying, you want to have your own life, that's fine. But stop being so selfish. Think a little bit more. Think about your fellow man. Think about what they would want. And, you know, if you start thinking in those terms, by the way, you're going to realize that you can live a life that's a little bit more peaceful because you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you can respect them, they'll respect you back. Let's see what this comment says. Body cam footage has saved a lot of wrongfully accused officers and holds the officers accountable as well. 100% correct. 100% correct. Videos don't lie. That's why I said earlier about the HOA I'm in. Lake Viking Association, the board of directors, the president, Doug Winter, who calls me a joke because I want transparency, calls me a joke because I want to show this to everyone. Let everyone see it on their time when they're able to. Calls me a joke because he's got the power to do that. I, of course, called him a dictator. A dictator, and he is. He's a tyrant. Just like Director Jeff Ferguson, or as I like to call him, Dictator Jerk Funguson. They are dictators. They will not allow people to have transparency of what they're doing. In fact, the director, Jerk Funguson, he actually explained to a woman about the jetty, of which no one voted on. And I've got to tell you, he talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and spun it right completely in a circle. And you couldn't understand if it was coming or going. You really couldn't. And I can't make this up. That's very true. These are true facts. I can't make this up. If I had it on video, I'd only have that reinforcement. And that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of accountability for the misuse of their power, for the abuse to the Home Oppressors Association residents. They don't want to be seen. They don't want the world to see just how bad they are. And I opened up with, when I had 3 minutes to talk to them. I only had 3 minutes, by the way. They could talk for 15, 20 minutes on whatever they want. I've got 3 minutes, but I did. I opened up with, if you want to be honest, have the transparency. This way here, we know, we can see. That's the only way this is going to work. And we can do this as a small little group, small little community here in America. We can show how homeowners associations and the board of directors should behave and all the other ones. We could maybe become a role model for them. I recently found out, have the facts yet, but I recently found out that at the Lake of the Ozarks, which is only about a 3 to 4 hour drive from my home, flying southeast, they've got like 3 HOAs. If you took every bit of money from all 3 of those HOAs collectively, Lake of the Ozarks now, if you took the money from all 3 of those HOAs, our HOA brings in more money than all 3 of those combined. And yet they want to increase our dues again. I'm going to tell you, folks, there's something wrong with this scenario here. I'm going to find out. I'm going to do some more digging. They posted on a newspaper a budget report. I don't know about you, but I'm not an accountant. I'm not going to play it like I am one. But I'm going to take that to a friend of mine down in Kansas City tomorrow and say, do me a favor, look at this. I want to understand what this means because I don't have a clue. And already it's come back to me through certain channels. These numbers don't add up. Oh, you look at, and I'm going to say like this, 300, I'm going to say 150 to 200 different little titles, numbers, all night. You get lost on those 2 pages. Anyone that can understand it is a mathematical genius, is a CPA genius. I can't do it. I'm not going to try. But like I said, I've got some resources. I'm going to ask a couple of my friends to look at this and see what they think, because that's what they do for a living. And we got to hold them accountable. I live at the lake. There are tons of tiny HOAs because of the condos. Do you like living under those conditions, by the way? Are you in an HOA row? I just wonder. I'd like to hear that. If you are, I'd like to hear that one. I really would. My kids learned cursive in school. Many states are bringing it back. That's a throwback to what we were speaking about earlier. But yes, we definitely have to also know cursive. We have to. And I'm glad that they are, in fact, showing it. Okay. All right. Well, Don Corleone will not be back with us tonight for the moment. And that's okay. It is what it is. And he's got to put his kids down. He's got that responsibility of children. Pitter patter of feet. Oh gosh, I gotta roll with you for a moment. My policy: do what you want unless you hurt others. Then you learn why I'm hated. Brother, it is a far better thing to be hated for who you are than to be loved for who you are not. One of my favorite sayings. I got to put this guy up for a moment more. Bang whoever you want. I'm not going to be there unless you pay me to hold the camera, face green, smiling. Yeah, you may not want to see some of that stuff. In fact, we were just talking, Dave and I were talking about some guy that can't remember his name offhand. I'm sorry, but apparently he has his hair dyed blue, I believe he said. And he and his wife 6-8 months ago, he was talking about how happily they were in marriage, that they had an open relationship, and now they're going through a divorce because apparently they got married so she could get her green card here to America. And apparently she likes the taste of many other men. it didn't work out so well. Woke is beginning to turn into and being shown as the joke that it is. So here we go. Penis potatoes. Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. You're gonna have to come on here. We're gonna have to learn you a little bit more, learn more about you, I think, Ro, for sure. But folks, I mentioned earlier that I had an agenda as governor, and I'm very serious about this. I'm hoping for that interview. I'm hoping I'll pass it. I have a situation again with a very corrupt government. I don't know who did that, but thank you. With a very corrupt government of this county, Davies County. I can't even get the FBI involved. The FBI says this is at a federal level. I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe when I'm dead and maybe they dismember me and put one part up in Iowa, one over in Nebraska, another part down in Arkansas, then it becomes a federal matter, right? In the meantime, you can't do anything about snipping them balls off them and getting down to the root of what their problem is. Again, this sheriff's department has had my case now for over 3 weeks, and they have not called me yet. Why? Because actually they're trying to figure out who in their department released that information to the tax attorney who put it on the internet. I can't make this stuff up, folks. It's violations of oath. It's violations of not protecting and serving the community. This sheriff right now should be going over to Coles. If I have anything to do with it, he will be. I'm not one to be messed with. I will bring you down one way or another, but I'm going to bring you down. I'm going to do it as legally as possible. I'm going to take every route possible. And if nothing else, I'll just put the truth out on the net because that's what I do best. I piss people off because I've got a big mouth. I'm not afraid to say what they're doing is wrong and bring it to people's attention. I don't have enough good things to say, but when I do, I'll just say, Heath Gilbert, you're my hero. I say it. I say it because he is. And that's the way that goes. But my fourth thing that I have the concern are taxes. Next week, I'm going to have Colin Soros on. This gentleman has been basically with think tanks and with himself doing a lot of work. He has what's called the gross receipt tax. I had a pretty good understanding about this. Now, hear me out on it. Again, I'm not going to pretend to be some kind of an accountant or a marketing executive, anything like that. As a governor, you're not going to be all those things. You may have an expertise in that or the other thing. Me, I think I'm right there on the program with education. I think I'm right there on the program with gender identification, with sciences and so on and so forth. But not so much with finances. That's why you have people around you that do that. But, I'm going to have Colin Soros on next week. You're going to really like this old guy. Trust me. But he explained it to me like this. Smithfield meats over here in Missouri, as well as Triumph Food, again, over here in Missouri, are both owned by Chinese company owners. Okay, Chinese owners. They send about 80 to 85% of all the product that comes out of those meatpacking plants back to China. China has 1.4 billion people they have to feed. They have to get their food somewhere, somehow. Oh no, there's going to be tax transparency, Ro. Trust me. I'm more. We're going to work on it. Next week's show. I heard you live down here in Missouri. It's believed. You may want to watch this program because Colin is extraordinary man. And yes, tax transparency would be nice. No, it's not a pipe dream. Trust me, it's not. As governor, I'll make sure it's exposed, every bit of it. If I have to do an audit on the state auditors, I will. But getting back to these two companies, they send and ship out about 80 to 85% of that product back to China, whereas 15% of that product is distributed throughout the United States. If we give them a heavy enough tax, we don't have the gross receipts tax. We don't have to tax the citizens near as much. we can back off the citizens of the state of Missouri. If we can build up the commerce, trade, manufacturing industry in Missouri and keep it rolling in Missouri, yes, we're going to have to deal with the feds, the roads going to, shipments being taken out to other states, so on and so forth. But if we can keep the bulk of everything in our state, we could probably just have a flat tax of 3 to 5%. And that sounds a lot better because for the last time I saw, we've got 8% here, 17% there, 3% here, 5% there. By the time you get done, and your income tax, by the way, on your paychecks, out the yin yang. I mean, it pays people in some cases. The government actually pays people money not to work. So why have a job when you say make $1,000 and 500 of it goes, literally 500 goes to the government? You can stay home and make $480 from the government. Socialism doesn't work, folks, so we better get over it. So that's my fourth topic of concern. My fifth is a culmination of many, so many to put together. But the first one that comes out to mind without having my paperwork in front of me, the first thing that comes out to my mind is healthcare. Elderly healthcare. I've got some doctors that are friends of mine. We're working on some stuff. But there are programs out there, health-wise, insurance-wise, that we can make and have insurance for every citizen in the state of Missouri. That is viable, that is workable, that's affordable. And believe me, if the owners of businesses can just pay a little bit, and they can pay a little bit, and the taxes can be dropped into it a little bit, it's not such a hard bite. But we've got to learn in this country right now. This is the way I look at it. It's our communities. And my community is a state of Missouri. And again, I'm willing to dedicate my time, efforts. I get I'm up 19, 20 hours a day for the better part. Always working on something. I've got brilliant men and women around me. They are brilliant. I am the stupid one. And I kid you not. I'm not high. I'm not drunk. Wish I was half the damn time. But, they're brilliant people. And they're humble people. They know where our Constitution starts and where our states have started to end it. And our federal government has started to destroy it. So, folks, believe it or not, I do believe a common person like myself who really knows how to look and sit down and talk with people in every different facet of life. And I mean that. There isn't a person I know that I can't approach across the board. There really isn't. The thing is, what are you willing to do yourself? I've got to throw this back to you. What are you willing to do, and why are you willing to do it? What is your reason and why? Again, several days I've woken up with that same question. Why? Why this? Why that? Why the other thing? And we do know what it is. Again, the breakdown of our family foundation and fractured foundation. And again, our country is being destroyed from within. And we need to have transparency. So, Doug Winters, Jeff Funguson of the Lake Viking Association, I'll be wearing a camera. I'll be taping it, and you are not going to stop me. I promise you, you won't stop me. That's the way I roll. And next week, we've got a big week on a school board meeting on Tuesday night. I'm not going to be able to watch Truck It, which comes on Tuesday nights with Sally and Chad. They both have had a couple off weeks, past 2 weeks. Hopefully, they'll be back next week. Friday, we have another show coming on with Don Corleone. I can't wait to see that come off. We need to pass this word around. Because if we don't do that, and I mean this, if we don't do this, people's heads are still going to stay in the ground. They're not going to listen. They're not going to hear it. They're not going to be shown it. And that is a very much a travesty of our country, is not getting the messages out. Let's see what this one says here. Oh, you live at the lake. Okay, cool. Well, it looks like I'm hoping, by the way. I am so hoping. Yeah, bro, that's in Discord we're using. I do shows with this guy a lot. Okay, cool. I guess he's talking to Ro about me. And last but not least, been in there a little while. I like to hang with Candyman. Good dude. That's who I was going to have on earlier tonight. I missed my Chad. In fact, I wish Chad would come on right now. I can see him lurking, but maybe he will. Chad?
All right, I'll come on for a little bit.
All right. We've only got about 20 more minutes. I
know Ro from Discord, so whenever I was telling you to get in there and start using Discord Ro's one of the people I was talking about. So
right on. Rose sounds like a very interesting character. I'm hoping he'll actually reach out to me on Facebook.
Yeah, he's pretty interesting. So
right on. So I told you the program today was really something very simple, which was the problems, my opinions with solutions. But the big question for me for the past couple of days is why?
Well, I mean, I think there's a bunch of problems and solutions. One of them would be, like Rose said, tax transparency would be one good thing that would definitely help out a lot. Like you said, closing the border down. Now they're defunding all these places because the cities don't have the money to pay for all the migrants and keep their police force, roads, anything else. I don't know how in the world you're going to get people to stay in New York whenever you're even charging them to drive in certain parts of, giving them a fine or a toll for just entering certain parts of the city. I mean,
looks a little windy there.
It is quite windy here.
So are you up in Chicago right now, or are you still in Florida?
I'm still in Florida. It's in the 50s here, but it feels like it's in the 20s with this dang wind blowing in. I know everybody else. I get called a wimp a lot because of me complaining about the cold down here, but
Yeah, you don't know what cold weather is.
It's that
you mentioned about the bigger cities and the road conditions and the cops being defunded and the towns getting literally bombarded with these people, and talking about all these organizations. The NGOs, by the way, folks, have sometimes they've got these three-letter agencies, the non-governmental organizations. That's what a non-NGO is. It's a non-government organization. Right. So it could be something just like your local church could be considered an NGO. And they're getting federal. What's that?
Planned Parenthood.
Yep. So, we've got to start watching, and I think Ro really hit on something people do care about a lot, which is, again, the tax transparency. We need to see where the money's coming in, where it's coming from, how it's being spent, who's getting what. Because
that's something that we've needed for years, obviously. Another reason that's why they can't get anything passed in government is because you're trying to pass a bill that's got 15 other things for funding wrapped up in it. So, yeah, I go by Candyman on Discord. So, Ro was talking about me, didn't even realize it. So that's why he had to change it. So,
yeah, but he said good dude here, and then he said bad dude. I love it.
Because he didn't realize I was Candyman. It was just Chad C. So I go by Candyman on Discord. So yeah.
Look at that. Yeah, the riverboat money. That's supposed to go to education here in Missouri. I don't know where that damn money's going to at all. Seriously, not at all.
He might know. I don't know. Ro digs into stuff quite a bit. So,
well, if he finds out, I'd sure be interested. I really would. Chad, our you and I started. I mean, well, like I said, we had some good conversations. We talked for, I think, about 40 minutes, maybe almost 45 minutes right before the program.
Right.
And so, how do you feel? How do you feel right now about our tax dollars going over to Ukraine, and yet we're not putting any money to securing the border?
No, I find that absolutely horrendous, I guess you could say. You know, so I mean, hey, Kimberly, that just kind of puts my head in a spin whenever you're pretty much just funding them over there, and oh well, this will only take a little while, and they got our border open faster than they secure Ukraine and stuff. So I remember before everybody was for supporting Ukraine, and then now that it's been billions of dollars sent over there, people are like, you know what, y'all can go fight your own way, especially when you don't see any progress over there at all, or I don't anyway.
They've recovered about 50% of the land that Russia has taken from Ukraine, and both sides are basically in the trenches. So they're not really getting any gains. They're not getting any big losses. I think it's a moot point. And of course, we have to kind of look at Zelensky himself. I mean, he's a dictator. I think the riverboat man, he's a blow for the governor's office. That's if Parsons was in there with Hunter. Chances are probably did then, but I don't think Parsons would. I don't think a hooker will want to do him. Good one though. Very good, bro. But no, getting back to Zelensky, I mean, he actually flew in asking and begging for more money.
Yeah. I mean, and the sad thing is he gave Zelensky more money, but wouldn't even give New York City more money. So, not that I agree with giving any of them more money. Maybe you need to change. Well, actually, they need to send that money. They should be given to New York City. They need to send that money to the border to lock it down. So, but that's another one of those things of Biden administration getting overran because now what do they do about giving money to Israel? Because they can't give money to Israel because they're going to piss off even more people that's pro Palestine. And so they can't do that. They're going to, they don't know what to do anymore. They can't say they want to close the border because that'd be going back on their word for open borders. Now you got all these Democratic cities begging them, some Democratic cities begging them to close the border.
You were talking about, and I mentioned this earlier in the program, about peaceful assembly or violent protesting. That's the way I look at it anymore. You've got people here in America that will peacefully assemble, and you've got people here in America that will violently protest. They're both a form of protesting. They're both a form of assembly, but one is more peaceful and the other one's more violent. Right now, today, I believe it was today, might have been yesterday now I'm thinking about it, because I don't think I had my TV on today at all. First time in a long time. Anyway, the police were actually keeping the protesters in line, whereas we haven't been able to do that earlier.
Yeah, Philly Dom's another good guy that I like to watch, and he walks all over New York City. And shows these scooters lined up and their little they're gas scooters, no license plate, no nothing. And he shows these and he says that's how you can tell where the migrants are at and working for and everything else, because they're getting jobs as delivery people and little things like that, and they just go off on their scooters. So, and peaceful protesting. Once again, I think and I was going to say, once again, I don't think that the peaceful protesting gets on the news as much. So, like Ro just said, it doesn't get on the news. So, you don't hear anything about it, even though people are starting to do it more. And then I guess a lot of people are getting sick of the violent protests too, though.
It's about time. I mean, we can't keep letting our cities be burnt down to the ground. We can't keep letting our police end up either dead, injured, quitting their jobs in fear, quitting their jobs for fear of retribution, legal retribution from these people. I mean, Chad, is it? I mean, I'm going to say it like this. I think it's going to have to get a little bit more worse before it even comes around to getting a little bit better. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think people are going to start just taking it into their own hands whenever these violent protesters do start coming. And I guess going to have to pull a Rittenhouse on them or something, you know?
Yep. Yep.
I
You know, we are a very armed nation across the board.
The
We
states
do
that
have
this, I was going to say the states that it's the worst in are the ones that, for one, you're not usually allowed to have guns, just like that guy. I think it was in California to where he defensively shot somebody and they took his concealed or his carry permit away from him, his gun permit away. And he
Yep.
was shooting in defense of himself and his family. And I mean,
Yep.
what sense does that make? You know? And then
You know,
those are the places where cops can't do nothing.
well, their hands are tied. Their hands are tied by state legislative laws
Yeah.
in that case.
So
You
once again, I don't know how in the world anybody would vote for Newsom, you know, even if he does run the ticket instead of Biden. So I don't know how the hell anybody would vote for Newsom. And
Well, I look at it like this: the way Newsom has ran and operated California, and I call him gruesome Governor Newsom. The way he's ran California into the ground, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been out to San Francisco in the late 80s, early 90s, flipping thought San Francisco was just the bomb. You know, the Fisherman's Wharf, just beautiful area down there. Now, you couldn't pay me to go. Not a chance at all would I go down there. It's horrible. So if he's done that to the state of California, where tens of hundreds of thousands of people, not just tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of people have left. If he's capable of turning that state into the, I'm going to say, I don't like to use it for, I don't like to curse, but turning it into the shithole that it is, I can't see him becoming president. I just can't see it.
well, I mean, and then they're also protesting in different ways now. So now they're trying the European and Australian method of protesting, which is, I'll just show you a little quick clip from the news.
Those pretzels at the trolley turnarounds were awesome. Yeah, they are.
So here's protesters blocking a 110 freeway in downtown LA. They're standing on the road again, just blocking the traffic. But to my surprise, it said 75 of them were arrested.
75. That's the actual big number.
Yeah, especially for LA. So, I mean, and that's even kind of sad too, that they'll arrest 75 of them at I wouldn't call that peaceful. I guess it wouldn't be a violent protest, but not a peaceful protest either. Kind of bad that they arrest more during that kind of stuff than they do on a violent protest. But another thing that I don't know how true it would be in California or not, but I know Van from LFR Family, he was saying that one of the things in DC is no face, no case. So
which means if they were to go on the lam and they can't find them, then the case is just going to be dismissed.
If they go on the what?
On the lam, if they run away, if they move to another state, they'll just drop the charge.
No, if they cover their face up and you don't get to catch them like right then, and they're covered, their face is covered up, they can't. There's no case against you.
Identifiable.
Yeah, you're not identifiable, and yeah, that's exactly right too. California is a catch and release state, though. I believe the last time, whenever they blocked off the Bay Bridge and chained themselves together and then parked all over it and threw their keys into the bay, I believe they arrested them, but they just let them right back go. They arrested them. I don't even know if they took them to the jail or not. They might have just had a big paddy wagon out there and took all their information. And I don't remember if they even took them to jail. But I mean, yeah, California's catch and release. So even then, you don't really go to jail. You get arrested, but you don't go to jail. And they'll probably drop all the charges on them anyway.
It's unreal.
So,
Well, the thing is, we know how we got here. I think we've kind of touched base on a few things to the point of why we're here. And now we've got to start doing things. We've got to start making changes. I really like this fellow Roe. Tax transparency. If I got nothing else out of this program tonight for myself, the tax transparency, and of course for myself, transparency, period. But the tax transparency of the state, you touched a nerve with me, my friend. And next week when I have Colin Soros on, I have a feeling if you're going to be around if possible, I think you're going to enjoy listening to Colin. Quite an interesting man. Chad, we're coming down to the wire here, brother.
all right, man.
I want to thank you. I wish you would have come on earlier, but hey, better late than never.
I was doing stuff too. So
I know you're a very busy guy. I know.
yeah, and he's right about that too.
You're right. You're right.
That's very true.
Yeah, the thing that they try to destroy with the CRT and the gender identity, and I mean the list is tall. I don't know about you, Chad. Did you get any Christmas cards off this year?
No.
To date, I have 45.
I actually bought some pants off eBay, and they are actually sent a Christmas card with it, but then it got glitter all over the pants. So
SpongeBob pants?
No.
Oh, just wondering.
Like work office pants.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, the office area.
Yeah, we're coming down to a Christmas this year, folks, and I got to tell you, after I got the 45 cards, by the way, yesterday, Chad, after I got them in the mail, the Christmas spirit suddenly touched me. And then last night, knowing that you didn't have your program, you and Sally had to cancel out, really kind of bummed me out. But it was like, I think you were going to do a show on what makes us happy. Or
we're going to kind of do it on getting depressed during the holidays and just suicides, kind of touch on that, and numbers to call if you are depressed or thinking of that, veterans hotlines, because I know veteran suicides also go up in the holiday time. So
what a wonderful way to end the program with me today. I was just talking about how I was getting my Christmas spirit back, and you're talking about suicide hotlines.
Well, that's kind of what we were going to talk about. So
I know it can be very distressful right now. It's very depressing across the board. There is, I believe, light at the end of the tunnel. A couple of years ago, I remember not liking the word, by the way, Chad, of hope, but I do now. I'm embracing hope. I really am.
I've been trying to get you to do that.
I think there's a brighter future ahead of us just yet anyway. We're going to learn a lot from this. Yeah.
Hope so.
I hope so. Listen, I'll talk to you again. Folks, thank you very much for joining me. Joining Chad at the end. Don Corleone earlier. And hello, goodbye. And all I can say is, Ro, you've been a delight. Don't know who you are yet. Guy, girl, doesn't really matter. Love you. And I do mean that. Love you. Kimberly, good to see you. Ruth, Heath, thank you. Earlier on the program, Don Corleone was with me for a moment. Come Friday, we have another program coming on the network. Please, folks, don't give up. Say prayers. Look into your own hearts. Find a chunk that you can give to another person. Help someone along the way. That will make your day bright. It will make you feel good. And more importantly, you'll make that person feel good. And you'll replace some of the sadness and darkness that is, in fact, in their life. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you so very much. God bless each and every one of you. And God bless America. I'm over and I'm out. Peace.